Welcome to the Vault Podcast, classic music reviews, presented by IV Creative. Now, here's your hosts, B. Cox and the crew.
Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Vault Podcast, classic music reviews, presented by IV Creative. It's a perspective of the classics from a fresh point of view. We appreciate you for taking your time and lending your ears to our perspective. You could be anywhere listening to anything, but you're right here with us, so we thank you. With you today is yours truly, B. Cox, and big shout out to all the fans out there once again for continuing to show the show some love, continuing to spread the word as well. We cannot continue to do the things what we do on this show without your support and love. Thank you all to all the listeners out there, stateside and worldwide, for your support, for continuing to spread the word, for hitting us up on social media and showing us some love. It definitely makes a difference. We thank you all for rocking with us week in and week out. The numbers definitely tell the difference that you all are out there spreading the word amongst your friends, your family, your colleagues. So thank you for showing us some love out there. But we don't want you all to stop. We want to make sure that you're continuing to spread the word. So keep spreading the word out there and let folks know about what we got going on over here at the Vault. We got lots of great stuff coming up in store. As always, you can check out our website, vaultclassicpod.com, vaultclassicpod.com. You can go ahead and check out the website, check out our back catalog, leave us a comment, leave us a voice note. You can also go there to check out our Buy Me a Coffee page where you can support the show monetarily and show us that you appreciate us by giving us a donation so that we can continue to do what we do for a long time. Again, that's vaultclassicpod.com. All the socials are on there as well. We appreciate y'all for checking us out, and you can reach us always by going there. So today we're going to do something a little special, and I'm so glad to be joined by two of my favorite people and content creators on the web. When I wanted to do this album today, I wanted to make sure that I reached out to them. They're two dope people. They do great content on old school music, specifically in the R&B genre. So I wanted to reach out to them to have them onto the show. They've had me on their platform, and therefore I wanted to make sure that I returned the favor. So here they are, coming to do an album review with me on one of my favorite albums from the 90s, none other than the R&B Representers, NaturallyAlise and JR, my brother and my sister. They came on the show to do an album review for me, and of course, whenever you're with those two, it's nothing but surprises and fun. And boy, did they have a surprise lined up for me later on in this. So go ahead and listen through to the review that we had talking about this album. And then also listen up for the surprise that was involved with me. And I got to give it to them for lining this surprise up. It was definitely something that I appreciated, and I'm sure all of you will appreciate it, being fans of 90s R&B. So here it is. And joining us here with the Vault Classic Music Reviews podcast, we have two very special guests. And when I mean special, I mean very, very special. And when I wanted to talk about this album that we're talking about right now, I wanted to make sure that I brought in the heavy hitters. And you know, if we're bringing in guests, we want to make sure we bring in the heavy hitters, the best of the best, the cream of the crop. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the audience to none other than NaturallyAlise and my brother JR from the R&B Representers. Make sure you catch them on social media and catch them also online at rmbreps.com. That's rmbreps.com. But I'm telling y'all, they have a crazy platform and show talking everything about the world of R&B. Y'all, it's crazy. I mean, the amount of interviews and songs and albums they've covered with a lot of different tastemakers and artists and producers themselves. Y'all got to make sure y'all go check that out. And I wanted to make sure I had them on. We actually did something about Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite that y'all make sure y'all want to check out. So make sure you're tapped in to see your boy and the two of them put it down on a very classic and timeless album. So make sure y'all are in there for that. So Alise and JR, welcome to the Vault Classic Music Reviews podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. This is very exciting because we go on a lot of podcasts, but we very rarely get to go together. They put one of us into it, so this is going to be fun to be together.
Yeah,
you got both of us at the same time. Oh boy!
Praise him, as they say. Hey, listen, I appreciate both of y'all, man. I love what y'all do. As we said, we did something with Maxwell's Urban Hanks Week, and we talked over probably almost about 2 hours about that. And when I'm telling you
Mhm.
the conversation was dope, it was really, really dope. And so when we talked about doing a repeat trip or a return trip over here, I wanted to make sure that I got y'all perspective on this album we're going to talk about today. So as y'all know on the vault, we talk about these classic albums and potentially classic albums that have made a mark throughout history. We go back 20, 25, and 30 years. And as you know, this year we are going back 30 years, makes it 1992. So it's only right that I had y'all on to talk about this album coming up right now. And it's an album that when we talk about really is a lot about R&B, is talking about drawing bridge from generation to generation and era to era. Well, this I think was a part of a very important bridge from one era to the next. And as we're talking, and hopefully we'll have a very special guest joining us here soon. I'm gonna keep that in the pocket. We'll see what happens, but hopefully we have a special guest for those. A little treat for y'all out there, y'all R&B fans, and it'll be, of course, courtesy of my brother and sister here. So we're gonna make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Where we're gonna go back to 1992, and we're gonna go back to October 27th, 1992, and to the debut studio album of none other than R&B trio SWV, known as Sister with Voices, and It's About Time, released on RCA Records on October 27th, 1992. Studios they recorded at, it's a bunch of them. Now, y'all know if y'all watch this show and listen to it, I usually name the studios where albums are recorded at. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this right now. I'll be here probably until next week, naming all the studios and who engineered it and everything. No. So just know it was recorded at a lot of studios all across the country, from New York to California. I will
Mhm.
name at least one that it was recorded at Unique Recording Studios and also at Quad Recording Studios. So I'm just gonna give you those two. After that, we're not gonna talk about the rest of them. A runtime of 60 minutes and 9 seconds on RCA. The producers on here, well, one in particular that you know very well, Brian Alexander Morgan, who did a lion's share of a lot of the work on here. So many of the tracks on here, we'll go over that in just a second. Donald D. Bowden, Saphreem King, Michael Brown, and Genard Parker. The singles on It's About Time. Y'all ready? Here they go. The first single released in August 1992, right here. The second one, I'm So Into You, January 1993. The third, which everybody knows and everybody loves, Week, released April of 1993. Downtown, hmm, released May 24th, 1993. Right here as the Human Nature remix, which is the one that I think everybody also knows and loves, released July 1993. You're Always on My Mind, released September 1993, and Anything, released in 1994. And if you're keeping track, I just named seven, yes, count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 singles from one album. And we're not even talking about the last single, which spawned a couple of different remixes, one with SWV over a different beat, and then SWV joined by none other than the Wu-Tang Clan for the Above the Rim soundtrack.
Mhm.
So, what we're talking about here, y'all, is an album that is epic and an album that we're talking about singles released in 3 different years.
Yes. Yes.
So, look, all right, man, this is where we are. SWV, It's About Time, Alise, JR. This is what we're here for. And when we talk about SWV, to me, I talked about bridges from one era to the next. And I've read some places that, there was definitely a bridge when you got from the mid 80s into the late 80s where you had these singers, you had like these singers that were more of like in the fashion of what I guess R&B and soul singers were becoming, the Whitneys, Anita Bakers. Then you would see like these Karen Whites, these Jody Watleys, these newer style singers like Miss Chalet, and then you're getting into the early 90s where you have En Vogue, who was sort of drawing that bridge between what the classic sound of what soul and R&B used to be at, and then morphing it more into what R&B was becoming. And then you jump into early 90, 91, 92, where R&B not only starts to sound different, but then the women who were singing it look different as well. So we were morphing into a different era and a different time. So I want to sort of get into this, and we always start off, of course, is getting our first reactions and reflections, and that's where I want to start with y'all. So let's go ahead and get into it.
first thoughts and reflections.
So we say ladies first. So I'm going to start with you, Alise. It's About Time. SWV. This came out 1992. Give us your first reactions to it when you heard it. Where were you? How old were you? And what were your feelings about it when it came out?
Okay, so I was 13 years old when this song came out. So I was in the 8th grade. Yes, 8th grade. And my first reaction, here I go laugh, was like hearing Right Here and like being like, who are these girls? You love when I say that. And like and it was such a big deal because for one, the style, that was a big part of it. So let me tell you, SWV was all the rage of the 8th grade. Okay. Like all the girls wanted to be them. It was like two particular songs that just could not escape that we sang it at every, sang the songs at talent shows, walking down the hall. Like it was a thing. It was a really big deal. Like SWV was everything. I remember, then I remember loving the high energy of the album, but also really loving, the ballad elements as well. But I just remember it just was fun. It was a fresh, different look on a girl group. It wasn't all glamour, 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 but they still was fly and it was cute and it was pretty. And they in the video, like, the Right Here video, like they having fun, like they just laughing, they partying with their friends, they just outside, like it's like a moment, and so it was a big impact on me, and I love them from jump.
Very cool. Yeah, that was a time where these R&B girl groups were coming out, and at that age group that you were at, Alise, I can tell you, because having been either in and around girls of that age group during that time, I know how popular they were with the girls and the songs that they like to sing in talent shows, or even just when people had the radio on the bus singing, because their songs are fun to sing along with, let's say, that's one of the things I remember the most. But my brother JR, same with you, man. Where were you? How old were you when it came out? Did you react to it? Just give us
Well, I was 6 actually when this album came out. Yeah, I was the baby, man. But my mom went to South Carolina State University, and I moved from 91 from New York down to South Carolina. So it was a culture shock for me. You know what I mean? So when I saw Right Here on Video Soul, I was like, yo, them girls remind me of home. You know what I mean? They look like the girls that I knew from home. So it was like, oh, okay, like, and then like y'all said, they was having a good time in the video. You know what I'm saying? Just, it felt like home to me. So I know that, my mom used to always have parties at the house. So everybody used to bring their music to the house and all that. So I remember somebody bringing the Right Here cassette at first. And it was just like, okay, yeah, I like it. Because again, I was, Mary was out. So me and my mom was still there. We was there with her, with them, with Mary, So then my mom brought home I'm So Into You. And she brought home the single, the cassette single. And from that moment, I fell in love with those girls. As you can see, I got the cover on me. Like, I had this cassette cover taped on my wall because they was like, they gave me New York, they gave me everything. And I was like, yo, I love these girls. Like, and finally, again, my mother had another party and somebody brought in It's About Time. And I felt like when I listened to it, it was like mine. Because my mom still was so into What's the 411. She really didn't pay a lot of attention to It's About Time. So it was mine. So anytime she wasn't playing the radio, or, her music, I was playing It's About Time. And she would be like, oh, you love this album, huh? So let me pay attention to this. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm playing it. But then on campus, like y'all said, I'm walking around on campus with her. All the girls are singing Weak. All the girls are singing I'm So Into You. All the girls are singing, you know what I'm saying? They singing You're Always on My Mind. It's like, and everybody was dressing like them, and especially girls from New York, they understood it. You know what I'm saying? So they had the doobie earrings. They had, you know what I'm saying, the hat to the back and all that, like dressing like them. You know what I mean? So, but the first reaction was like, I love this album. I was like, they it for me. And I told my mom from that point, these girls are my favorite girl group of all time from that one album for me. And yeah, me and her go back and forth on it because she said, you're not going to play In Vogue like this, but you're not going to play In Vogue like this. But I said, look, I get it. In Vogue is great. I like, don't get me wrong, Born to Sing, they started it all. Yeah. But it's something about these New York girls that is just, they caught me. And from that first thing, I was like, yeah, they're it for me.
Yeah. The New York style, I think, is another thing that endeared them to them. Like, you had TLC, which came out early in the year with Ool on the TLC tip. That really kind of started like what's the word I'm looking for? The homegirl look, really. You know, where you saw these R&B singers and they weren't in dresses and they weren't, you know, looking elegant. And they weren't like, you know, trying to like seductresses. They were like girls around the way. And that really was the look that I think gave TLC, okay, yeah, these girls, look at them. They was having fun in their videos. They looked like they were enjoyed being around each other and enjoyed their company. SWV definitely had that B-girl, homegirl swagger to them in their fashion. And to your word, Alise, they were definitely still fly, still pretty, very attractive and gorgeous, but they still seemed like they were down. Like, yo, these are the girls you see that's chilling with the homies at the basketball court, or the one you see at the park, or the one you catch JR coming out of the bodega. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's the type of feeling that you sort of get from them. To speak to what you said about with Mary, I feel like the reason why the singles, at least the first couple of ones, didn't catch on so quickly is because I can't help to think that Mary had just a little something to do with that. The fact that she was still hot as fish grease. Because we're talking about You Remind Me coming out that summer. By the time Real Love dropped right around Labor Day, it was like, oh yeah, game, set, and match. You know? And then the other single sort of dropped. So if it seemed like it took almost 6 months or so for people to sort of catch on to SWV and to be like, oh, okay, this is what we got, you know?
But another thing is a lot of why SWV caught on is because Mary came out with that look and was so viable. So that had a lot to do with people. It might have took away, but it also brought people to SWV because of the correlation of the looks and the sound.
And then they would have, that's when they would always compare them to. If y'all look back in the interviews back then, it was always, what do y'all feel about Mary? And what do Mary feel about SWV? And after a while, you could tell it started to annoy them because they was like, our sound ain't the same. We might dress the same and we might got the same type of swag, but we're not the same. And after a while, it was kind of like Mary even threw a dagger, like, you could put, you know, hat to the back with all these girl groups and do whatever, but I'm me. And finally, LeeLee in an interview was like, look, she's Mary J. Blige and we're SWV. We got our own stuff. Like, stop asking it. But like y'all said, Mary was so dominant. It was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? It still brought you to the girls because it was like, oh, okay, well, if Mary can do it, these other girls can do it as well. We need to find some other ones because we tired of looking at these ballroom dresses girls. We can't, we can't relate to them.
It's sort of like, you know, with Jodeci, right? When they first came in and started it, like the R&B groups and guys, like, you know, even New Edition, you know, they were sort of dressing a little bit different, you know, like you would see the R&B guys with suits on. Luther had on, you know, suit, a blazer with the, you know, like looking like they were going out to the, as we like to say in DC, they were going out to the chateau, which is a place where old people go to handle it.
Down here, they be like, they go to the Elks Lodge.
Right. But then as you get into the early 90s, man, and as I guess as New Jack Swing starts to like lean in, and then when Jodeci came in and changes the game with the way that they looked, you see that like the R&B guys start to adopt this fashion where it's a little bit more edgy, it's a little bit more hip hop, and for folks like us that were coming up, it's like, okay, those are the guys I can relate to. These guys, that's for like my parents, you know, and for my aunties and uncles and them, you know, this right here, this is us. So yeah, I mean, my reaction to SWV. So as I told y'all on the Maxwell review, I grew up in a house with 3 older sisters, and in particular, my 2 younger sisters, they listened to music on the radio and bought music all the time. And like I said, by proxy, I ended up liking a lot of R&B music as a result of that. SWV was one of those groups. Really, the big one that caught us at first was "I'm So Into You," but then the one that really caught everybody's attention was "We," and because it was so big on the radio and it became such a big hit, that's what everybody latched on to. For me, it was watching the videos, but then vocally, it was something that I was just like, man, this is something. And it wasn't just Coko, which I'll get to Coko in a minute. Together, their voices sounded like it was on a different, little bit of a different level than some R&B groups that you heard out there, male or female at that time, except for the top upper echelon vocal groups out there. Vocally, they sound together. It was just like, this sounds like damn near elite, even at the young age, me being 10 years old during that time, but having listened at that point to so much music, knowing vocally what you have and what you don't have, and being like, this sounds a little bit different. As far as when it came to their music, what hooked me in obviously was Coko. And as I like to say, the first 3 female vocalist voices that I fell in love with, the first one was Whitney Houston, the second one was Anita Baker, and then the third was Coko.
Wow.
You know, and that's saying something because there's a lot of people out there. I just skipped over some names. Now I didn't say the ones that weren't good. These are the ones, the voices that I fell in love with.
Right.
When Coko sang, it did something for me. When Coko sang, I felt something in my soul that I didn't feel when I heard other people sing. And people who are out there of my age and in my generation, y'all know what that is. I mean, she has that gift, that voice.
Yeah.
Her voice was the engine which helped make SWV go. And this is not really to lessen anything of what Taj or LeeLee did, because it was definitely a group effort. But she was the one singing the lead. She was the one out there who, if we were singing the verses, that was Coco's voice. That's the one that got us all wrapped in, that got us to those hooks that had everybody singing along. So as we get into It's About Time and the album comes out, I'm noticing these singles are dropping and they continue to drop and continue to drop. So when I get this album and this album comes out, I'm in the 5th grade. By the time the last singles are dropping, I'm in the 6th grade getting ready to go to middle school. So this album had a huge effect on the charts. They had a huge effect on the charts, and their versatility, being able to do up-tempo and dance tracks, being able to do grooves and jams, and then also being able to settle in and do ballads. I mean, and I'm talking about not just regular old ballads. I'm talking about when you settled into what 90s ballads were, it was almost like, yeah, this is the standard right here. Like, you could listen to what followed afterwards when you talk about groups like Escape, and also then seeing what TLC did on Crazy Sexy Cool. It was like, okay, SWV, when it came to singing these ballads, it's like they're sort of taking a page out of what En Vogue sort of did, and then also taking and seeing what some of their earlier predecessors and contemporaries did early in the 90s, and then took that, and then, of course, obviously, props to all the producers on here. You know, Brian Alexander Morgan, of course, but the other producers on there as well, to create that sound that just sort of gave you like, man, these girls, they got something. And the videos were fun. The videos gave you sort of like, you know, the right here with the Human Nature remix, they were on the island, they're riding horses, you know, it's like, gives you that like bit, this is great. Whatever they're doing, I want to do this too, you know? So that led me into being a fan and led me to wanting to know and hear more from them. So when they took a couple of years off and then eventually they came back out with New Beginning, it was like, cool, I'm glad to see them back, because I miss being able to hear that, to hear like those voices. Like the title of the group is definitely apt. Sisters with voices together harmonically with their voices do, which is something magical. And you hear that even on a song like Downtown. Like, come on now, on that hook, are you crazy?
Oh, Lord.
Crazy. So that's what it was for me. It definitely made me a fan.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved every bit of it. And you know, I know that y'all talked to Brian, and y'all had a one of your episodes. Y'all talked about songs in the key of life with him, and y'all talked and everything. And so, like, just wanting to know, just like, hey man, the creative process is something that I always wonder about. And so, I saw the unsung episode. That gave you a lot of like tidbits and cookies as far as stuff that was going on. We know there was drama and stuff behind the scenes and everything else. But the great thing about it is that you never really know until somebody tells you. So that's the great thing about it, man. It was the great thing about it. But I mean, in regards to, before we get into any highlights, and so we'll talk about highlights as well, because there's tons of them on here. One thing I want to ask y'all before we get into highlights is, was it, what's the word I'm trying to look for? I kind of feel like the bridge from, let's say, Whitney, Anita, Jody Watley, Karen White, from En Vogue into this new age of R&B sort of went right to them, that they were sort of the bridge that led into this new era of R&B. I felt like they specifically, them.
Yep.
Maybe we can talk about TLC and everything, but I think SWV was that bridge.
Yep.
From what it was, from it being, classic to New Jack Swing, to leaving out of New Jack Swing, going into like carrying into what Mary sort of helped to create with hip hop soul, but then sort of creating a nice little blend of it together. Like they were really the bridge, starting like, hey, we're moving out of this era, we're going into this one. And I think they were the ones who helped to carry that. I mean, what did y'all think about that in regards to them being the bridge?
I agree with that, because when if you see the way that Brian mixes I'm So Into You, it's like a rap record, especially the part when it's you're not mine. Like that part right there is the bridge. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you can kind of see everything change, because the way they did with Mary, it was like Mary was just on a sample, and they just, cut it up the way they did, but you focus more on just like with Real Love, you focus on what they did with Top Billin', and that was it. That's what your focus was, and Mary was street, and that's it. The way Brian chopped up I'm So Into You was completely different on what was going on, and he was kind of created that bridge to say, oh, this is like hip hop is really here to stay to me. That right there, that part right there, when Brian did that, was like hip hop is here to stay, and it's filtered into R&B for real. And it made a lot of producers like Jimmy Jam, who is our friend, and Jimmy Jam, he said he listened to It's About Time, the way Brian did the production on that, and was like, he got all his people together, was like, listen, we got to do something different. We can't do what we were doing with Rhythm Nation anymore. So that's why when you hear That's the Way Love Goes, that's just a respect to Brian, because if you listen to that, you can tell that is a Brian influence in that record. You know what I mean? Because if Brian would have never did I'm So Into You, we probably wouldn't have never gotten That's the Way Love Goes from Janet. We probably would have never got it like that.
Damn. I just, you know what? When you just said that just now, I'm like, you know what? That boy right. You absolutely right. I'm sitting there listening to the two records, and I go from one, like if like from my DJ perspective, and going like from one to the next, and it's like, ooh, wow. Okay.
And I think there was such a seamless bridge, because you had your group, you had your En Vogue, but they didn't have an edge. You had a TLC, but you didn't have the vocals. So it was like SWV came and they did both. So people who are used to the late 80s, singers, you still got those vocals, but you got it in this youthful, energetic street, street or street adjacent girl, imaging wise, So that's why they were able to pull two crowds, because those SWV songs, my mom knows those songs,
right?
And I know those songs, and kids now know those songs.
Right.
And you see Reimagine, like the songs that are being redone from SWV in particular, seeing Chris Brown doing, She's Not You, and taking from that Human Nature remix,
right?
Borrows both from Michael's song and then also what was done on the remix and the programming from that, and in particular seeing what was done with Rain. We seeing Tyrese and Chingy were Pulling Me Back. And
Brian said, "Keep the checks coming." Like,
keep it coming. Yeah. That's a man. Yeah, and so the being as though they built that, and then when you go into I feel like when you get into 93 into 94, as more acts started to come out, like you're seeing those escapes, those John A's, and then eventually you see groups like you see artists like Brandy and Aaliyah and Monica, and then by the time we got to 94, it's like that bridge has fully been crossed, and this is what R&B is now. And then to see them on the other side of that with their second album was definitely something interesting to see as well. But now it's on the highlights. Y'all know what we do.
Highlights and lowlights.
All right, so we started with Alise last time, JR, so we'll start with you with your highlights and lowlights. What are they?
Oh, are we starting with the lowlights first? Because maybe I should get that out the way.
However you want to start.
Okay, I'm going to start with the low.
Alise is laughing. What's going on?
Because you already know I'm going to start it off, and people probably going to act like I'm bugged out, but Brian knows this too. I am not the biggest fan of Weak at all. Never been as a kid. Never liked it. Never. I understand it. I get the impact of it. I get everybody loving it. I love it when they do it live because they bring something different to it when they do it live. But I was never a fan of Weak. It was like mind you, when I'm So Into You came out, because you said 6 months in, that's when I'm So Into You single came out. Before then, the girls were singing Weak then. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, you walk the campus and it's like, I'm like, oh my God, give me a break. Like, come on.
Like, whatever it is that you do when you do it.
Yes, it's just like, come on, y'all. Like, I'll be like, look, and I've already told Brian, I remember when they asked me my top 5, SWV records. And Weak wasn't in it. He was like, "What, you don't like Weak?" I said, "No." And I'm telling this to the writer and the producer of the record. I was like, "Brian, I just can't." And then when I told him, he got it. He was like, "Okay, I get you. I got you."
Yeah.
But that's why Brian fooled with us, because we're very honest, even if it's and we'll tell the why. That we not gonna be like, "I hate it." We don't do that. We like to talk to you to just do that.
Yeah. Right.
We got to explain.
So I mean, Weak. Another one of the songs that I can really, I don't have to hear it anymore, honestly, is Black Pudding. That song is the most corniest 90s song in the world. And I love my baby Todd. She know I love her. But what her and that dude was doing on there, it was so like, for real. And I'm like, y'all really got Todd's like she's spitting hard body on this. And I'm like, I was like, come on. I just was like, come on, man. So anytime the record would play, I just gotta skip it. And then one time I found myself mouthing the words. I said, "Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad." Like I'm sitting there mouthing the words, and I'm like, nah. Even at 6, I was like, "This is corny." Even though they on some other stuff, you know what I'm saying? It was a very serious record back then. That joint is freaking crayons compared to what we hear now. But
was very aggressive.
I'm sorry, but it's the truth. So then with that, I was just like, yeah, that can go. But other than that, as far as the album, good. But my girls did not have good videos either. I love them, but why were they in a boxing ring for week, y'all? Explain that to me.
That I'm still
why were they fixing in I'm So Into You? Why? Why? Yes. Why? What sense was that? I just like the only videos of that even made sense to me in that era with them was right here because it was fun. Yeah. That was fun. It was a fun video. You're getting to know them. You see in the street, whatever.
Not Human Nature, though.
No, not Human Nature. I'm not a fan of that video either or song. But at the end of the now it was. He gave me that though.
And did.
Yeah, but the girls didn't like it either. At first, they thought it was gonna kill their career. To be honest, they was like, "This is gonna kill our career, yo. It ain't gonna be right." But thank God for their A&R. Was like, "We ain't listening to you. This is crossover material." You know what I mean? And it was like it made perfect sense. Hey, even when they do it at concerts, I'm sitting there singing along to it. Am I the biggest fan of it? No, but at the end of the day, I'm cool with it. But that video, why they on horses? Why? Why are they on the beach riding horses? They had the worst videos, yo. SWV had the worst videos. I was just like, thank God that the songs were greatly written and stuff like that. But I'm like, come on.
And
that was not
cool. And the videos weren't just bad on this album.
All the videos.
They had a legacy of bad videos.
We ain't gonna go to New Beginning. We're gonna leave that there. That's no, ma'am. We're talking about It's About Time. Don't do that. Yeah. I knew she was gonna go there. We're gonna stay with It's About Time. We had 5 bad videos. Leave it there.
Yeah, they weren't the best, conceptually and whatever. I get it. I understand. I do.
And Cheryl will tell you, I do not respect music videos as a medium. I think it's one of the worst mediums ever. I don't respect it.
Yeah.
It's like exceptions of the people that do it on a masterclass high level, and that is as maybe 2 handfuls of videos. The rest of them,
you don't really care too much for them.
I get it. I understood the point of them, but
but that's my lows of the album. To be honest, that's pretty much it as far as my lows. Okay, you know what I mean. But my highs, come on, the production of Brian Alexander Morgan, like that man became from this album alone, he became one of my favorite producers of all time for this. Yeah. Because of what he did with production, and he got the girls right in the pocket. And like you were saying, B, as far as him, the group was built around Coco's voice. Let's just be honest. With a voice like hers, you gotta build around it. That's just what it is. Yeah. LeeLee and Taj can sing. They have proven that on other songs. But Coco's voice is something special that you build around. And I love when I was listening to songs like Weak and songs like I'm So Into You, you're hearing Taj and LeeLee. You might be focusing on Coko, but you're hearing Taj and LeeLee in them blends. Like, these girls' blends were amazing. Like you were saying, like, it felt like they were really sisters. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even though they wasn't, you know what I'm saying? But they felt like they were sisters. Now, my girls can't dance now, except Taj. But at the end of the day, I'll be like, oh, Lord. But, they blends, and Brian used all of them. That's why I like when he would, go on interviews and defend the girls and be like, look, they all can sing. When I did production on them, I used every last one of them. It wasn't Coko just being used. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? She's the lead, and I'm dealing with that. But as far as their blends, I'm making sure you're blended, because the parts that you're hearing, you want to sing along to, you're not mine. It's all 3 of them. You know what I'm saying? You're singing the hook to Weak. It's all 3 of them. You know what I mean? So, but the high foot is all that. And one of the best highs for me is I'm So Into You, because that's how I really got onto the girls and they became my favorite. Yeah. But I know Alise gonna kill me for this. But I love SWV in the house. I love how Coko was spitting on that record. Mm-hmm. I don't care what nobody say. Coko was letting it be known I'm New York and this is just what it is, and it is. And you got LeeLee like in the background, like you said, you got the feeling that they wanted a home girl. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now, is she the best rapper? No. But that record always gets me hyped. Like, I get hyped when I hear SWV in the house. Like, I'll be like, Coko, let them know, yo. You know what I'm saying? She was letting them girls know. Come on. Every time I'm a phone with the same old thing. Come on, man. Coko was letting them have it, dog. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because Genard already know what I'm about to say.
I know. But I'm glad B let me get mine in, because I know you about to go off. So go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it'd be like, I like you don't like weak, but that's your highlight. That's just weird.
Wait. Okay, now you tried it with that one, because you ain't even the biggest fan of weak either.
No, that is not what I said, and I will say it in my highlights conversation, because no. See, you take one thing of what I say and not.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Fine. Well, whatever. But
what I said is, I don't ever have to hear Weak again. But that was the song. That was one of the songs that brought me in. That is full of memories of being in the 8th grade.
Yeah, you did say that.
Singing it ad nauseum. Like, I probably made myself not want to hear it again, because that I would just play it. Never said I don't. No, I think it's a great song. But
it's well written. That I don't doubt. I think that's just what it is with me. I think it was overplayed, and it was just like, I can't deal with it no more. Like, this is the time where we was getting all them joints like End of the Road, I'll Make Love to You, freaking, you know what I'm saying, Mariah Carey's Hero. Like, they was just playing these ballads, and it was just like, and they threw Weak up in there, and it was played on white, black, country, alternative rock. I was like, come on, y'all. I don't got it. Can we play Downtown, please? But yeah, but my highlight of this whole album is I got introduced to the girls that I love to this day. Anytime I hear any song on this album, good or bad, it brings me back to the time where I was introduced to these girls, and they were getting me comfortable in a new surrounding that I wasn't really used to yet. And I can listen to It's About Time and feel like I was back at home. And that's what they did for me.
Very cool. Yeah. Very nice.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Alise, your highlights and lowlights, ma'am.
It's real funky right now. Yeah.
Think you're gonna like it?
I think I'm not gonna like it. I'm gonna start the highlights. I'm starting with positivity.
Yes.
So highlights for me are Anything, the album version. You're Always on My Mind. And Downtown. That's my Downtown. But what does that even mean, JR?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah. We show our work here. So with so the thing about Downtown is it's kind of a funny reason. It's because it's the song that kind of made us giggle as 8th and 9th graders. Because we was like, Downtown, what that's supposed to mean? And then the video, and every time they sing the chorus, the dude starts swimming towards her, and she's sitting on the edge of the pool with her legs open.
The imagery was definitely suggestive, as they say.
Yeah.
And they keep re-looping that same part of dude swimming. Come on now. But yeah, so that was our song. We kind of giggled about it. But as far as the song, their harmonies on it are unfuckwittable. Like, it's just very like, I can't even fully like flesh it out in words, but it kind of makes goosebumps a bit. It's just like the way, and then the transitions in the song, and then the bridge is crazy. Like, that's a really great song. Like, you know, if you don't like what they sing about it, you replace it with different words. Like, just the way it's vocally arranged and the way the bridge comes in, like, you put any word on that, and it's just a dope song. But I love a little, you know, I love a song with a tongue in cheek little, you know, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of in it. Like that's fun, especially to somebody young. Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
So I really did do love Downtown, and that's a song that I didn't get sick of, so I do still play that song. I even have a single of it. But it also has a low light for me, which is right here, Human Nature. I don't hate it by any means. Like, it flies, but you know, it's a sway kind of song, you know, when it comes on. It's sway. But I I like the original right here because that's what brought me in. I remember, like I said, I hate videos now, but videos is what brought me into a lot of stuff. And I remember seeing the video, and like I said before, they have fun, and it was just a happy. It felt happier on that version than the Human Nature. The Human Nature changed the mood of the song, and that was my happy, joyful, like C-I-N, you know, they just, you know, yeah, it took on a different mood. So that right here is definitely a highlight. But the right here, Human Nature is a low light. But I love what they did for them.
Right.
Love.
Cool.
And like JR, if they sing it at a concert, well, shit, if I'm at a club or a bar and it comes on, yeah, I'm gonna sing along because that's a bring people together song because everybody knows that song, black, white, young, old. So,
Right.
you know, so that's, you know, that's a fun, that's more, you know, situational.
Yeah. So my highlights and lowlights are kind of mirror a little bit of both of yours. Definitely to me, when I said that I fell in love with Coko because of her voice, Weak is the song that did it for me. I mean that, and I'm So Into You as well. I mean, those are the two songs right there that made me fall in love with Coco's voice. And I was just like, wow, unbelievable. Weak is something that I was in a restaurant in New Orleans about 3 years ago for my homeboy's birthday. And we were at Neo Soul Cafe. I don't know if y'all heard of that before.
Yes, God, yes.
Yeah. So we went to Neo. So you know about Neo JR.
Yes, I do. Yes. I went there for my birthday like 2 years ago. Yes.
So we went and we got, great food. Lots of people have been there. It's been featured in Essence before, but they're playing old school R&B there. So obviously, we're hearing like, songs like, Can We Talk and, and Stay by Jodeci and you're hearing like, Troop. And so and then SWV Weeks comes on. And I lied to you not. Everybody from all the patrons in the restaurant, people that were waiting to be seated, the damn man flame broiling oysters to the left and behind of us. And when I'm telling you, we sang the entire song, everybody sang the entire song. It is, like you said, Alise, a song that sort of brings everybody and their memories together. That you can't do anything but sing that song. I can get it. Trust me. When I was like 10, 11 years old and this song was being played to death, not just by my sisters, but by every 10 and 11-year-old girl in my elementary school and in my neighborhood playing that song, I got sick of it too.
Yes.
But then if you don't hear it for a while and then it comes back on again, then it's like, okay, I get it. Like, I definitely get it. So those two songs, I'm So Into You. Now, as you mentioned, at least, Downtown, vocally there's something special about that song that I think a lot of people don't give that song the credit that it deserves. Because they're doing something there harmonically and tone-wise on there. It's just like you don't hear on the other songs, And because it's such a subdued song for it not necessarily to be a ballad in a sense, it's just like, wow, y'all really pulled this off. Like, oh my gosh. Like I said, just that hook, so the things that they were doing, the blends, like, oh wow. okay. And yes, it's a song that's talking about a certain act that, suggestively both the video and the lyrics of the song point you towards. But still, it's a song that I feel doesn't get the credit it deserves. They did, so I think, some of their best singing throughout all of their albums on that track right there. Very, very underrated. I didn't hear either one of y'all mention this, but to me, this is a song that I think might be right there in my top 2 or 3 of best favorite songs on the album, and that's "You're Always on My Mind."
Oh,
I
absolutely.
did say that. I said that's in
yeah,
my highlight.
sorry. Yeah. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
but
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my favorite. That's
Yeah.
my favorite song on
yes,
the album.
that "You're Always on My
And
Mind."
it ain't even close.
Yeah. And like, what Coko did on that, and then Brian, like, oh, come on. The compliment, like the compliment right there, like, goodness. I
He
mean,
did that.
here's chocolate cake and a couple of scoops of ice cream right there,
There. Good one. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it was. It was the perfect compliment. And I mean, and Brian was doing a little bit of flexing on there too, but that song, when you think about those early 90s ballads, like, that's what, like, gets me, like, into thinking of songs like, I think about that song almost in the same vein, like the way I think about Intro and Come Inside, and just like,
Okay.
like,
Okay. Yeah.
like this, like when I tell, like, literally, we tell these young folks, y'all don't know nothing about this here. And it's like, yes, like this type of slow jam and love song, like this is the type of stuff that we grew up on. Love that track, absolutely love it. And Lowlights, for me, I mean, I'm not a fan of Black Pudding at all. At all. Like I said, I try to do her thing rapping. It just, to me,
She did all right on Right Here, though.
yeah.
No,
No,
she
she did
didn't.
all right.
This is his moment. Don't do that.
No.
Go ahead, B.
Okay,
Go ahead.
man.
What you
I'm
saying?
just chiming in.
Yeah.
Oh, Gerard, that was.
It's cool, Alise. It's all right. It's all good, y'all. It's cool. We're agreeing about something. We are. But like the whole thing, like the rap, like, listen, I love hip hop and R&B together, but I don't need a rap song in the middle of this R&B record. A verse, okay, I'm all right with that, but no, I need that, can cross that off the list.
Hate that. I don't like singers rapping on songs, with very few exceptions. Very few exceptions. Like, no.
Yeah.
If you're not a rapper, do what
Mm.
you good at.
Do what you do. I mean, Left Eye's different because Left Eye's a rapper. I mean, come on, like,
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, there. Yeah, oh yeah.
No, I love. She is one of the major exceptions.
Yeah, but I mean, I was not really a big fan of that. I really wasn't a big fan of. I wasn't a huge fan of Coming Home, to me. I mean, I feel like
we agree totally.
Do you know that song? You know what that song is a straight jack of? Pun intended. Is a straight new jack of Teddy Riley doing Kissing Game.
Yeah.
When come in, it sounds like Kissing Game. Yeah. It's the same beat, but not done as well. Like, it's budget. It's budget. It's no frills. Kissing Game.
Kissing Game.
Right.
Oh man. So those are really like what I have as far as my highlights and lowlights. I mean, the other songs on the album, they're fine, I mean, I don't really, but when it points out the things that really hit me, I mean, those songs that hit me, the ones that when I listen to the album, even now to this day, when I go back, like, oh, I can rewind this and run this joint back real quick because I need to, So and so that to me is highlights and lowlight wise. I mean, the lowlights to me are something that doesn't kill the album for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I will skip Black Pudding though. I mean, without a doubt, it's just something. If Come Home does come on, I'll let it play in the background. It's like, we don't really pay attention to it. It's just like, It's like when you're reading a book and television is on and you're just sort of letting the television play.
It's like what I told JR. The song's not offensive. It's not a worst song. It's not the best song. It just kind of is.
Yeah.
It's just a song in the ether. Like, hey.
Yes.
I try to.
I'm not like, I don't hear them like, oh no, not like that either. So
yeah,
I just wait for Give It To Me. That's what I'll be waiting for. I'll be like, all right, coming home, cool. You know what I mean? Cool. That's one of them, drink refills where you're not paying no attention to it and you're going to refill your drink and you're like, okay, it's time to refill. Cool. Whatever. It's a cool little, I could dance to the refrigerator. I'm good. But yeah, come on, give it to me. Like, I want to hear what Jeff Redd and Kenny, Kenny Green did as far as that vocal arranging on that record. That's why it's even though that's very New Jack too, Give It To Me is very New Jack. Yeah. But the way they're vocally produced on that joint, it's dope. You know what I mean? And the one that I brought up again was Think You're Gonna Like It. I love that Brian, that to me, he was letting the girls' gospel influences kind of shine through, because Coko went for blood on that at the end.
Yeah.
Like, went for complete blood at the end. Like, I think Brian was just like, go and just sing, and she was just going off at the end. And that's why I was just like, that's kind of a sleeper for me. Think You're Gonna Like It. Nobody really talks about that.
Yeah.
And I told JR before the show, because I was like, is this one of these albums where just side A was good? Because it upon further review, I said side B, I do not like the production on side B.
Okay.
A.
Okay.
It's SWV. You always gonna get sisters with voices, but with other producers, it's the production I don't like. In fact, I like the vocal arrangement a lot.
Oh yeah.
But if I could hear those songs reimagined with a different production under it, I bet I would freaking love those songs.
Yeah. Yeah, now I definitely sort of like, I guess, with Forever My Lady. And
that's just side A, period. Like,
Yeah, and then you
my
get the
side A album is
like,
Forever My Lady and Lost Boys, Legal Drug Buddy. Just side A, that's all
side A and side A alone. I feel you. Yeah. I had that conversation with somebody about Jodeci and Forever My Lady, and they was like, that's...
B bad. B is for bad.
That side B, no.
Yeah, that joint
Lord.
No good. Well, speaking of production.
Oh, well, look at it, Alise. Look who done came through the spot. DB!
What up, guys?
We have a very special guest in the building for those of y'all who are tuning in. I told y'all we would try to have something done. And these are all props to my folks, Alise and JR, for having them come on. He really needs no introduction, but for those of y'all who are listening and also watching, I'll go ahead and do it. We're talking about SWV, It's About Time. So we want to talk about one of the geniuses, one of the engines that made this album go. 8 tracks on here he produced, and he produced and or co-wrote on here. We can run him down once he gets on here. We're talking about sang as well, did his thing, but his production credits just aren't with SWV. He's done production credits as well for Lila Hathaway, Faith Evans, Coko, Usher, Missy Elliott, and also as recently did work on Aloe Black's debut album, Lift Your Spirit. And we're talking about none other than the incomparable, legendary Brian Alexander Morgan, joining us here in the Vault Classic Music Reviews podcast. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. How are you?
Hey, what's happening, man? I'm good. How y'all doing? How's everybody?
We're great, man.
My favorite producer on the show.
Everybody good?
We are good, man. We are good. Thank you so much for joining us. It's
nice.
We're chopping it up over this album, and we've been talking about a lot of the tracks on it, especially the ones that you produced and wrote. And we were actually just having a conversation about You're Always on My Mind. And every one of us on here, I mean, I know Alise and JR, I've told you, we absolutely love it. That to me is like in my...
Wait a minute. Alise, do that again. Put that glass back up, girl. Put that glass back up.
Oh, my God. You see what you're getting, You see what you're getting.
Cheers to you all.
It's a water night for me, man. So y'all have fun. I definitely definitely indulge on my behalf.
Hey, but it's a water night for me too. I'm about to get in this water right here in about 2 seconds.
Ooh, I'm jealous.
Oh God!
When I get out this store, I got some cardio to do.
Yeah. See what happens when platinum producer artists, what happen at, and producers, they go out and they get in their pools and they do their cardio for the day. You had to
Hey, with a glass of wine. How about
a glass of wine? Exactly.
That's all I got.
Winning.
You feel me? Gotta live your life now, like Rihanna said.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
So I'm so happy that you guys are talking about this very important milestone we're reaching here with the 30th anniversary this year. Yeah. And I got something special coming for all y'all. I'm so excited about it. I'm trying to keep it under wraps, but it's crazy, yo. So I'm excited to be just still here, first of all, in the land of the living. We've lost so many amazing people. And when I tell you that I'm so thankful for every second of life right now in these crazy times we are living in, it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about that, and you mentioned, and you talked about in many of your interviews about Chucky Thompson. And
yeah, man.
That's one that is no longer with us. And me being a DC native, I know a lot about Chucky and all his work, man. So
my guy.
Yeah. We just another one, Jesse Powell, just recently passed along. Stuff in music from my youth. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Every day above ground is a good one, definitely.
Yeah.
But we thank you for coming, man, and for taking a little bit of your time. And so just to sort of continue the discussion around this, and I've watched a few of your discussions on, like I think I was watching Halftime Chat with you did about a year ago where you were, speaking about some of the things about with the album. So one thing that I did want to, and I read a little bit about this, man, just tell us, and for the listeners who are listening to this, your process of how you linked up with Kenny and how these songs that ended up on this album, like how did that ended up working out with that whole thing connected with you with the girls and the songs that you wrote?
Man, it had to be a complete and total act of God, because there's no way in the world, like, when you hear it told, that it's just crazy how it came together like it was supposed to happen. My whole intention was just to work on Martha Wash as far as working at RCA and getting on something that I thought would make some noise, because Martha was on the heels of her smash, Everybody, and then, of course, Gonna Make You Sweat with CNC Music Factory. So my sole purpose was just to get something on her so I could have something in the clubs and on the radio. That's what my goal was, because she was dominating the clubs and the radio like crazy. I just wrote some songs for Martha and hoped that she liked them. And maybe it's about 4 songs. And she took all 4. And that got me into the space of Kenny Ortiz. Like, he knew about me because we were working together with Martha. And somewhere in those sessions, he was like, "Yo, I got these girls, man. You got to hear them, B. And I think you could be good for them." And so he sent me old school FedEx package as a cassette. I took that bad boy out, and when I heard Coco's voice, I stopped the tape. I was like, "Oh snap! I heard the potential was so crazy. I was like, this is going to be absolutely crazy. If she can do these songs. I had a couple songs already that were sitting around for a couple of years, like Week, and Right Here was probably like a year old by then, but Week was like a couple of years old. And I said to myself, if I can just, cut them on her and them, we'll see what happens. I wasn't sure, because on the demo, she was very raw, and it was kind of all over the place. And I was like, I don't know. Let me see. I don't know. We'll see. So Kenny's like, "Yo, when you come back to mix Martha, just please do, a couple of those songs on them." And I did. We did Week, which Coko hated, and we did. I think we did Right Here. Yeah, and it went well. And what happened was they got signed based on those demos.
Wow.
And we went from there. We just kept working from there. And that was me in New York. When we came to the West Coast, and my turf, I created I'm So Into You then.
Yeah.
And then we kept going from there. Always on my mind. We was back in New York again. It was kind of back and forth, coastal. It was just getting the records knocked out. And when we got them done, all of us still weren't really, I wasn't sure, because let me tell you something. TLC, right in that exact time period, had changed their whole image to that crazy, sexy, cool stuff. And we was like, oh shit, they look amazing. This is crazy. Like, there's a shift. And I was like, I don't know, man. This whole, hood street thing, is this still gonna work? You know what I'm saying? As far as image. But what we were thankful for is that the fact that their name is Sisters with Voices and they had the goods when it came to the music itself, that is what sold the product. It was like, yo, they said they are sisters with voices. So they backed it up. They just backed it up. And their blend was crazy. All the records, I made sure I recorded them all together. And then sometimes individually, but always in that background. It's their blend in that background. A lot of people say, yo, B, I know I hear you in the background. Maybe. Kenny Ortiz was a stickler for trying to keep me in the background from the demo. Always wanted to keep me in the background. So I took a lot of crap for that because people were like, why are you still all up in the background? Well, that's because Kenny Ortiz wanted me in the back. But I tell you what, though, their tone and their blends, LeeLee, Taj, and Coko together, is truly its own sound. And and if you're a fan, you really already know that.
Yeah. We were talking about that earlier, man. Is that their tone and blends on some of these songs is something otherworldly that you don't hear from a lot of groups in that era. I mean, even the elite ones, the ones that sold all the records and everything, vocally, you weren't hearing the same type of things what they were doing. They were blowing it out of the water, which was ridiculous, man. Yeah. And you talked a little bit now to talk about "I'm So Into You," which all of us love. It's a jam. It's still a jam to this day. Now, there was an interview I was reading one at Complex where you said you made a version and Kenny said he didn't like it, man. He said, you can't do this. So tell us a little bit about that, him not liking that first version and how it flipped into what it became.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know I'm really, really, really a hip-hop head at heart. Like, I'm right? So, like, I was very easily influenced by my hip-hop heroes of the era. And so when I was in New York that first time working with Martha, I made it my business to go to visit my heroes like Eric Sermon and people like that and step in on their sessions and kind of just vibe out. So I just watched Eric work, man, like I think he was working at Korg workstation. It was incredible how he could work it. I was like, man, the Red Man records was so hard. I was like, man, I got to do joints like that. So when I went home and got I'm So Into You together, I was doing it in that funk mob mode, man. Straight up, I was just doing it, trying to be as hard as it could possibly be. And Kenny heard that. He's like, man, come on, bro, that's not you. I was like, you don't know it, but it is me. This is what I want to do. He's like, man, strip it back down to just the raw soul of it. And when I took out all the elements that I thought made it sound like, more East Coast, really we just stripped it down to my Midwest basic structure, just the chords, the drums that I put in there that were real straight and clean, and they weren't new jack in any way. And the bass, my bending bass lines, all the stuff I grew up on, Funkin' for Jamaica. I was trying to get all those elements in there. So if you really listen close, I'm making a lot of nods to a lot of things that I care about. When I say "You're Not Mine," that's just a little piece of Shaka Sweet thing. You're not mine. I can't deny. I'm trying to get it all in there. Funkin' for Jamaica, that I'm getting that bending bass in there.
Yes.
But I still was original with my own ideas as far as melodically. So I felt comfortable in where I had Coko going from her opening line. Boy, there you go. That's all. There you go. From there you in. It's my take on what I thought she should be doing with her tone.
Yeah. Wow.
I was wondering how long it would be for Brian saying.
Okay.
Your slipper was supposed to be sooner, sir.
Hey, but you know what? But the funny thing about that song, LeeLee was kind of getting at me about how she wasn't sure that they was in all the backgrounds and stuff, and I had to assure her. But let me tell you something. Those background parts are so important on my records because, frankly, I noticed the fans wait on those parts to come. They can't wait till so fine come around. So you know what I'm saying? Right. Things you do, them backgrounds is it. You hear me?
Oh yeah.
On week 2, I mean, come on, and all the parts that the fans wait for are all the background joints. Something about the way you do. You know what I'm saying? Come on. So I was like, don't underestimate how important and powerful those backgrounds are, and like how important they are to the records. Meaning Taj and LeeLee.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that
too. Now you mixed all that, did you? Did you mix?
Oh yeah, me and my man Larry Funk. Shout out to Larry Funk from Wichita, Kansas. My first engineer that I ever had. Took Larry with me. When I got that deal going, I brought Larry from Kansas, man. He did the Mark the Watch with me. I said, man, let's just keep rolling with this SWV stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he worked with me all the way through Rain. Me and Larry mixed Rain as well.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think Coko solo joints too. Yeah, I think that's somewhere in there. All the way up to Nicole Ray. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, come on, Brian. You know I know. You come on now. Come on now. Come on now. That's what you were saying. Everything that I was saying before you came on here, I was like, come on. That's why he's my favorite. One of my favorite producers. Like I know this guy. Like
let me tell y'all about Larry Funk. Larry Funk was a studier of Quincy Jones.
Yes, sir.
He understood how to make those vocals we call it shimmer. Make them vocals sparkle. Make them vocals do what they do. So, like, I was talking to Rodney Jerkins one time, and Rodney asked me, he's like, yo, what all them verbs? Like, what the hell? How'd y'all work out all them? I used to watch Larry calculate the verb times and do it mathematically so everything was falling where it's supposed to fall, and the echoes and reverbs were doing what they're supposed to do. So when you hear, there's an acapella of Weak that floats around, people use it all the time. But if you listen to that acapella with just the reverbs, that joint is doing its own thing with no music whatsoever because Larry was so meticulous about the reverbs and the delays. And so you don't hear that kind of attention to detail today. You know, you don't hear it,
man. Not at all. And being an amateur producer myself, and being around great producers and listening to what they do and them working on equipment, what you had to deal with back then versus what you're dealing with, what you have now.
Right.
Quality as far as what you were dealing with, some things that were analog, you're not getting the same thing what you get now digitally.
Right. And thank God for me, I came in at a time when the MPC was brand new. So I did all that SWV stuff on my very first MPC. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. Like just right before MPC, we were struggling with sample time. Like it wasn't enough time. To, like you had about 12 seconds maybe. And that was on the SP 1200. Like it was just, we just didn't have a lot of stereo sampling time. But the point is, it forced us to be more creative with how we did our chops. And so I don't know. I just think it was a blessing. That device was a blessing to me because I could filter. For example, I could play my keys, then I could sample myself and put it in the damn machine and have it playing from the pads. So now I'm doing what people take for granted now, just loops and shit because you're buying loop packs and shit. Shit's already done for you. We had to create those things. You know what I mean?
Shout out to the SP, man. Yeah.
Man. All that old gear where we had to really create. Come on. All the people that know about it. DJ Premier.
Beat Rock.
Man,
Beat Rock.
Beat Rock. Come on, man. Premier didn't use the 1200. I don't want to say. I know he used the Akai. I think he used the 900. But I'm telling you right now, Easy Mo B 1200.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's a thing to be said about when you have to work a little harder for something, you get that creativity, you get that ingenuity, necessity is the father of invention. So you get, like, you have to dig deeper. But when things come so easy or easily accessible, it cuts that part out. And to me, that's the soul. And
while you're speaking on that, I want to say this because that's so true. And let me tell you, I'm going to give you an example of how that's true. Okay. I'm just gonna come clean. Like now, how I create joints now is how everybody else do it. Like you hear a beat pack or some samples or some cool stuff, and you'd be like, oh, I'll do my idea based off of that, right? Well, the difference is back then because we didn't have sample packs or things already cleverly chopped and screwed, like whatever for you. Give you an example. Just the simple hi-hat on I'm So Into You. The reason why that hi-hat is like that and sounds like that little hi-hat piece, it doesn't sound very significant. But you take that motherfucker away and the song ain't even the same song no more.
Oh no. Yeah. Oh okay? Yeah.
But the question is, it wasn't just given to me in some group of sounds. I had to think about where did that hi-hat come from? I had to know my sources to be able to go to that. So I was like, this is what I had to think. The process was this. I want an old sounding hat that's swinging a certain kind of way, but it has to still be real. Like, I don't want it to be electronic, so I'm not going to my electronic music for the source. I got to go to an actual record that's a drummer playing a hi-hat. Now, what records do I have that has a hi-hat that's open and loose available to be taken? That's a very short list. And I'm not telling you what I use, but the point is, I knew where to go to get it. It's from Motown, I'll tell you that. But the point is, I had the record and I pulled it and I was like, yeah, there you go. There go that hi-hat. So when I took that hi-hat, I was like, now I'm doing my thing. So when you hear that beat, it's like, boom, boom, boom. But the hat, on top of that, that's the swag. That's the swing. So, yeah. You know what I mean? An idea that I had to think about and have the resources out of my own mind, not given to me.
Yeah. That hat.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it becomes a different song without that hat, man. It does. It's a different song. It is a different song. So the parts that you had to go get, you had to lift, you had to dig for them, you know.
Right, and nowhere to dig.
Yeah.
Nowhere to dig.
Yeah.
Nowhere
to me, that's part of the whole idea of being a producer is having some kind of sense of music enough to where you know where to go.
Yeah.
And doing all that, B, you change music forever.
Exactly.
I hope so. I mean, I hope I did.
Ain't no hope. You know you did. You know you did. Ain't no hope. You know you did.
JR always do that. Own it.
I do, because I want Brian to know. He know he did.
Yeah. I changed me and Coco's and Taj and LeeLee's life and Kenny Ortiz's life. I know that.
Oh, well.
No doubt about that. And for those of y'all, you're wondering if you picked this up mid and in the pod, we're talking, of course, SWV, It's About Time with the R&B Reps, Alise and JR. It's a very special guest, producer, writer extraordinaire, Brian Alexander Morgan, one of the architects, prime architect, I'm going to say, of making this album go in regards to writing and producing and making those hits that you know and love. Now, another thing I wanted to also point to, Brian, we talked about this earlier, is, you know, being that bridge in regards from one sound to the next. We talked how from the late 80s into the 90s, you had that new jack swing, and then you're moving into a new era of R&B where it's not quite new jack swing, but we're sort of obtaining some of the elements from it as well. But moving into out of new jack swing into hip hop soul, where this marriage between hip hop and R&B is becoming more and more apparent.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned it, you know, that SWV and that sound, and you ultimately were a part of being that bridge. After that, on the other side of that, you get to some of their contemporaries, their ex-Gates, the Jeanets, and eventually you see in the Brandys, the Monicas, Aaliyahs, those groups starting to emerge on the other side of that, where that sound started to mature a little bit more.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that process of being that bridge, or helping to be that bridge from one group of sound to the next, which led to something else later on in the decade.
That's a great question. And you know what? First of all, you got to understand, I'm built by Jimmy and Terry's groundwork and work in the 80s. Like, my whole idea of being a producer had, prior to Jimmy and Terry, had been based on Stevie and what he was doing, or based on gospel records like Commission or Thomas Whitfield records. Like, my production style was, or Bill Maxwell, like he was doing all these incredible records production wise, and it was very live oriented, like based on, you know, live sounding stuff. So when Jimmy and Terry came, man, come on, bro. Like, when you're talking about Tell Me Do You Still Care with SOS Band with that 808, that was so significant to me. And the fact that it could be a machine and still have so much life, right? Like, that was groundbreaking to me. Let me name some records. Just Be Good to Me. That bass line. Jimmy told me he played that live all the way through. No sequence, like playing that joint. Just that human feel to that, right? Yeah. And then, but they always had these dope ass keys and layers of keys in there, but the beat was always banging. Cheryl, Everything I Miss at Home, Love, some more Cheryl said. Alexander O'Neal, Saturday Love. Name any record by them, and the drums are always so important to the record, right? Yes. And how they layered the keys around the drums. And the bass is very, very important. Jimmy's bass lines were always ridiculous. And so when I started doing it myself, and this is prior to the MPC, I was always just trying to make sure my shit sounded as good as them. So then enter Babyface in LA with another twist on that same approach. Like, it's still live keys, but these drums are popping, and the first sounds we heard from LA and Face were in their own group, The Deal. And we were like, okay, wait a minute. And then, but when they broke out with Pebble's Girlfriend and those, there were very significant audio signals saying, okay, this is a particular sound. Same thing with Teddy, with I Want Her, with Keith. Those drums were like, what in the hell is going? These I Want Her drums is so crazy to this day. It's so dope. Like, it's like, what wild, is this? Man. Is ridiculous. Like, and so Teddy was forcing us, as well as Jimmy and Terry, as well as all them, forcing us to deal with the matter of drums. So that's why when you hear on the SWV, it's hard to let that go, because that's how I came in to my producer's self, listening to those records, right? So right here is the original right here, still has those elements of that New Jack Swing thing to it. But I knew in the back of my mind that I wasn't going to cut it just trying to sound like them. I had to identify who I was, right? I was like, who am I in this sonic, world? Where am I? So that's why I'm Swing to You literally, to me, is a signifier. It cuts the whole New Jack thing and starts over from scratch. And let's just build this thing from. That's why I started it purposely with such a sparse intro, which is that, all that. And to make you understand that these little tiny elements are their own thing. Then when the beat drops in, now you know what it is. But the point is, and I want to emphasize in the middle of the record, I'm a hip hop dude. Yeah, so that's why that You're Not Mine breakdown is an 808, like smacking right in the middle. All that is, you're not. Oh, man, yeah, my brother, we in here with these beats. I want you to know I'm not just a keyboard dude. Yeah. I'm trying to do these drums and get your attention. You hear me? So we got melody.
And Brian, to speak to that, like, Black folk, we love a beat drop. Like,
listen, right?
So we love that. You started off all deceptively sweet or slow, and then boom, like, oh yes.
And you know what? And I did it from jump, y'all. I'm not trying to jump around, but I gotta mention anything right here. I like starting with that nothing of just the keys, so Coco's voice can wave in, just ride in on that wave of just keys.
We know this.
We've met.
Got me. So wait. So when that beat does drop on anything, your body and mind and soul is waiting on that to happen, right?
Yes.
I just that's what I come from. I want to set it up and spike the ball.
And spike it, you did. I always think, like, that line that we talked about, that connection of the bridge, man. It's you spoke a lot about Timbo and the things that he was doing later on in the 90s. Like, I almost even think that bridge that you were helping to send, like, sort of like stretches right over into Timbo and Rodney and what they were doing.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And the things that they were doing with, like, Aaliyah and with Missy and Nicole,
absolutely,
and with Genuine, and eventually what Rodney was doing with Brandy. That line of that bridge goes right there from that period, from what y'all were doing.
And you know what?
Right into what Timbo and Rodney were doing later on in the decade.
Man, they killed it. And let me tell you something. When I heard Tim's stuff first, like If Your Girl Only Knew, I was like, oh, snap. Here goes somebody else that has another interpretation of what to do with these drums and keep it minimalistic, but still so knocking, right? Yeah. And then keep the most minimal of sounds to get their idea across. Think about If Your Girl Only Knew. What? Oh my God!
That's crazy, damn baby.
It's insane. But he was a genius and is a genius at doing that. And so I feel like that's a really important thing. Like, how can you get your idea across with the least amount of things so that the listener not only feels it but just remembers, almost internalizes it.
Yeah. You gotta find that thing to focus in on, like.
Yep. Yes.
Man, it matters. And Rodney was a genius at that too.
Yeah. Woo, that he was.
Oh, and I gotta mention Keith Crouch. Keith Crouch on I Want to Be Down. That's another example of simplicity, but banging, but clean and simple. Because if you really think about it, I Want to Be Down could be the beginning of what Tim is doing. Like that simplistic but hard ass beats. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The pull. Nice. Yeah. So we're talking about SWV. It's about time. So I always like to find out things that were happening behind the scenes, and obviously we don't want to incriminate anybody or any statutes of limitations. Or
You're talking to Brian now.
I gotta put that out there. I'm not telling you to tell everything. I'm just saying. So I always, whenever I do talk to people involved in making albums like these, want to always find out about an anecdote or a story about something during the recording process that you think about every once in a while and pops up back in your head that made it memorable. So do you have one of those stories for us, Brian Alexander Morgan, about It's About Time? An anecdote from the recording process, the studio, a chat with whoever, any one of the three girls, or mixer, recording engineer, whoever.
I got two.
Okay.
Here's one.
I think I know one of them, but go ahead, D.
Here's one. Okay, this only reminded me because just the other day I was in my studio listening to old DATs, and I ran across this DAT, and nobody ever really talks about this little song on It's About Time album very much. But yo, I ran across the DAT of us recording SWVs in the house, right?
Brian, I talked about that. Yes, I did.
JR loves it. He loves it. And
Alise a hater, Brian. She a hater.
No, I'm not crazy about that joint either. But look, I swear to God, peep this though. So I found the DAT of where, the whole DAT is basically Larry Funk had pressed record on the DAT, and he's recording the session of us doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That DAT has so much hilarity and crazy shit on it, with Leanne talking shit, Coko talking shit, back and forth to each other about me, about Kenny Ortiz. They talking shit on this DAT. So you wait till I play that for them in person. I'm sure they forgot all the stuff they talked. It's so insane about just because they were getting bored with in between takes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they would just say crazy shit. And this DAT goes on for I want to say about 60 minutes, like an hour of just shit talking. Oh, it's the best shit ever.
I could imagine.
But in between, I'm still producing. I'll come in the booth with, I'll be like, okay, do it like this or say this. And Coko does it. And then when I go out of the booth, they'll start talking shit again. Oh my God. I was like, I cannot believe I just found this. I sit there for an hour listening to this shit. So that's story one. Story two, everybody knows the one where I said, after I finished right here, the original, Kenny Ortiz added them damn, I got the power bells to it.
I knew it.
Was heated beyond heated, more hot than this. I was hotter than this.
As he shows us the hot tub.
And that joint is at 200 right now. Look, I was so heated. I could not believe it because, first of all, I wanted it right here to be clean and funky. Listen, I had an old demo that didn't have those bells in. I can't even find it now. But it's so clean. Nobody knows what it's supposed to sound like to me because they never heard it. It's like, boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. It's real clean and funky. But with all that ding, 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 I was like, oh, fuck, man. He just fucked my whole shit off with that. Oh, my God. It wasn't shit I could do about it. Oh, man. That's why I could never listen to that for years. I couldn't. Only right now, recently. By the way, it just got certified. Somebody sent me a thing and showed me the certification of that particular version. Finally going platinum. It's on its own.
Wow.
Nice.
Via streaming and all the Today stuff.
There we go.
Let me get $5, B. You got it.
Props.
That's crazy though, right?
For the platinum certification, my man.
Yes. We just hit 3 million. It was certified at platinum when it came out, only within a few months. But now just hit 3 million. Right here, the original hit platinum, and I'm Sworn to You hit platinum. It was gold when the original came out.
Nice.
And the second anecdote, you said you had two.
I gave you two. I gave you the one when I found Sisters with Voices in the House.
Okay.
That's crazy that I just found that.
Yeah.
That's an ongoing.
Does it surprise you? Just a couple more, because I know you got to get going, your cardio going, and your cool down and everything else.
Yes, sir.
So a couple more questions. The first one I have is that, does it surprise you all these years later that these songs, this album, still gets a reaction out of people from a number of different generations? And it's one thing if it's our generation, me, I was telling Alise, I was in the 5th going into 6th grade when this album came out. She said, she was, certain school age about it. JR, same thing as well. But we react to it. people older than us in our generation react to it, but it's kids like my younger cousins who weren't even born when it came out. You know, does it still surprise you that it still gets the reaction out of a number of different people spanning the generations 30 years later?
Yes,
songs,
it does.
Speaks, you know, like
absolutely.
the also went to use the right here's the
rain, all of it.
Yeah, man. Rain, Lord. People love that damn rain.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I can't go on TikTok without hearing some kind of variation of something or something. Like every week, and this is just the God's honest truth, no flex, I promise. Every week, I'm clearing some version of it because somebody's trying to put it out, like rappers, singers. And I like that it's rappers and singers because that's true to how I perceived it. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it's like Rick Ross. I mean, man, everybody they put that joint out with Summer Walker. That shit is crazy. It's been the most Flo Milli with her version of Week. It's been crazy. Chris Brown, he done 3 or 4 of my joints right here. It was his She Ain't You. This past year, he used Always on My Mind on The Baddest with Young Blue. Like, I mean, it's just never ending, and it's so amazing. So yeah, I am shocked and amazed and blessed and humbled every time. And all the TikTok stuff, man. The TikTok stuff has gone crazy. Week had a little moment a few years ago. Rain had a moment last summer. It's nuts. I love it.
Wow. And then
I think it's because it's, you know why? Can I say why? Sure. I think I know why. Because I was thinking about this recently. I was like, why is it that they keep coming back to SWV when they could go to TLC, they could go to Destiny's Child, they can go to In Vogue, they can go to Jade. There's so many groups. Escape. I just think that there's something that's what I thought was too raw back then is exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Like we used to think that they should maybe be more polished or maybe more. Nah, they want that raw soul. Like that's what that is. So I think that's why their stuff is church, is street, is like those elements that people want when they think 90s. So it's so cool. Like, but they always flip it into some right now shit that works.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. It's fun for me to be able to do something else. Like when I got the Khalid record on the way, 1985, the producer asked me to do, you know, what I would do on that, and I did my damnedest to do Jimmy Jam's keys. I was like, let me throw these Jimmy Jam keys in there, like, you know, and my hero. You feel me? So that's why if you listen back to Khalid, those keys sound like Jam and Lewis because I was doing, you know, what I came up on.
Yes, Jimmy Jam, me and
full circle stuff. And let alone my Nas record. Oh my God.
So can I talk about how you gave us the exclusive on that?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you tell it.
Okay, yeah. So the day before we did our episode, Brian was actually working with Charlie Wilson.
Oh wow.
And he was like, yo, make sure you call me because I'm being a late session. Like, but he wasn't giving this out yet. So Brian got on and we started talking. And then at the end, he was like, yo, this new Nas record is coming out that I just worked with Charlie Wilson with and blah, 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 blah. So I don't think a lot of people...
Got to mention Hit Boy in that.
Is that the one
he
on
brought me in.
Yes. KD2, right?
Yes.
Oh, man,
so
that's the one.
So people didn't catch it in the episode that we did with Brian because he said it quick and we were just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So finally when the album came out, I was like, Brian, can I put this clip up? He was like, hell yeah, put this clip up. Hell yeah, put this clip up. So then we had a lot of people that was a part of a 5B podcast that we do as a hip hop podcast. They were like, wait a minute, Brian told you on the episode? We was like, well, if you would have watched and caught it, you would have knew. You would have knew.
And I'm telling you, that was a full circle moment for me because Charlie's such a hero of mine, obviously. And then Hit Boy is a hero of mine presently. So those two, and plus Nas is the all-time, oh my God, one of the gods, right? So like that right there, I ain't gonna lie. I cried in that session, y'all. I ain't even gonna lie. I straight up cried because first of all, it came from a record that I did 5 years before SWV. Like I got signed to Warner Brothers by Benny Medina. I did this song on there called If Only. The record, we got dropped. It never came out. It was like a source of pure sadness for me, like despair, thinking that I wasn't going to make it in this business. So for that record to be picked up by Hit Boy and Nas, and then for him, Hit Boy, to call me and invite me to that session to work with Charlie, that it's just no words, man.
Yeah, no.
And for that to come back around and be how it was flipped was so genius on Hit Boy's part. I just want to say thank you.
Oh my God.
It was just
something that I did before there was ever even a thought of SWV in my life. You feel me?
Yeah.
That is a full circle moment, and
full circle, baby. Yeah,
that song is one of my favorites on an album that I absolutely love.
No Phony Love. All right, man. Good. Thank you.
And as a matter of fact, man, that run on King's Disease 2 from Store Run all the way through Count Me In is my favorite run on that album.
So crazy, right?
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's to go from Store Run to Moments to Nobody, then to have No Phony Love.
And don't forget that Lauryn Hill right before it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So crazy. So before we always ask our guests, what are they working on now? I know you can't, some things you probably can't put out there quite yet because you got to have some things cooking in the street. And when it drops, you want it to drop and then for to shock everybody. But just what are you working on right now? Some things that the listeners and the public should probably be looking out for. Let us know what Brian Alexander Morgan's working on and what we need to be looking out for in the future.
Okay. I think I owe it to the fans because they've been so patient with me. And like literally for the last few years of me teasing them with my stuff I got in my vaults. So that's one thing. The Bam's Rare Remix and Unreleased, hashtag Bam's Rare Remix and Unreleased. That's actually still a thing and it's still coming. However, I spent the last year putting together this 30th anniversary thing because I wanted it to be special. And so that's what you're going to hear next from me is kind of the reimagining of these classics that you guys know so well. I've tried to put a spin on each one of them in a way that I think that the fans will appreciate it and consider them new classics, even though these are the same records, right? So I was trying to really like honor it. Be like, if I'm gonna reflip my own shit, it's got to be crazy, right? Mm-hmm. So I work with a couple of incredible people to get to achieve that, and so just trying to get it straight business wise right now. And I got it. It's coming. It's coming. Even if it's the top of next year, it's still coming. It's still the 30th anniversary, no matter what year it is.
That part. Can we get the vinyl, B?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna try to get some wax. Of course, I'll get some wax on this piece. Of course.
Yeah. I need it, yo.
It's gonna be crazy. I want to tell y'all about this.
Your reasoning for vinyl?
I'm a vinyl head, so of course it's gonna be vinyl when I'm involved.
Oh no.
For sure. I gotta have my wax. Come on now.
I love
it. And then some CDs too. We're gonna do a little run, little small run, you know.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Of course, it'll be Spotify. It's gonna be playlisted up for y'all and all that good stuff. But we're gonna definitely have some. Oh, and here's another thing. This is another thing I want y'all to know. What I want to do is do an East Coast release and a West Coast release, right? And a party for each. Kind of a listening party. So East Coast listening party, West Coast listening party. So those things are something that you guys should be looking out for, especially the fans. I want it to be a big turn up for the fans of that album to celebrate. It's just an EP, so it'll be like 5 songs, but I want and a 6th bonus cut on there too for you guys. So
watch this. And you should have me and JR come host it.
Come on, we got y'all. How can y'all not be there? So like,
you got my number.
We're working it all out. We're gonna work it out. And special guests in the whole 9. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
So I'm trying to get this
in the universe.
My plan is to have it be tied around Valentine's Day because just the love of the whole record. You feel me?
I see where you're going. I see where you're going, V. I see where you're going.
And there's a certain single that I want to release around then with a couple of singers y'all know that's covering Always on My Mind and Murdered It.
Oh, see.
Yeah. Ooh, wait.
I need you to text us and tell us who.
Yeah.
Don't play with me, Brian. Don't play with me, Brian.
I'm telling you. And I got a couple other surprises I want to throw on there that's going to be hopefully it comes through and we get it done, which we're working on it now. So I'm just praying, man, that it comes through the way I want it to.
I hope so.
It will.
It will. Oh yeah.
For your lips to God's ears. So
yes,
we are going to keep our fingers crossed on that and stay tuned as well because now I'm waiting. So is what builds in success. We all hope. But Brian Alexander Morgan, ladies and gentlemen, Sir, thank you so much for joining us for discuss this album, discuss music.
Love you, man. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Man.
Thank you, B. Love you, man.
Love y'all back.
Have a
Y'all
good
already
one.
know. I'll keep
Hey,
y'all
listen.
posted.
Don't work yourself too hard on the cardio, man. And remember, always stretch and then cool down.
Listen, I got it, bro. I'll talk to y'all.
Thank you.
All right, B.
Love y'all.
Love you.
Yeah, that's your friend.
He is. I gotta claim that one.
You introduced me to him, so that.
Oh, see.
Hey,
But
man,
he loved me more though.
Yeah, he does.
No, that's fact.
Thank y'all, man, for setting that up. That was a special surprise for all of y'all out there on the vault, man. This was all Alise and JR setting that up. I owe y'all one now, so I got to make sure.
No, we family, yo.
Listen, I owe y'all one now. But
don't turn down that man good money.
But yeah, so the last part of this as well, man. Now that we've had Brian on discussing, I love the discussion of everything about the songs and just music
dope.
in general. That was really dope. So, but we got to close out the way we always do here on the vault.
Final verdict.
So, Alise, JR, we have a little bit of the ratings have switched now. We've gone from the whole certified, borderline, just in its time, or not a classic at all. Now we're going certified classic, essential album, dope album, good album, or just okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Alise. When it's about time, what is your rating for this on that scale? What say you?
See, I'm wavering between certified classic and essential.
Mm-hmm.
Certified classic.
Okay.
And I will say that because it spawned some of the biggest singles some of the biggest singles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Yeah.
Yep. All on one album and big singles off the originals and the remixes. And
that's where I was gonna go.
And I will say enough of the album was dope to drown out any things that I feel like we're feeling. Yeah. Like it was so strong through the singles and through it had a lot of singles. But through the singles and some of the because I think it was just enough to push it over classic. Yeah. Over to classic. For the feel it up even because the singles were so strong. Yeah. And so musical. And as we discussed in the show, it ushered in a whole new approach to R&B. Mm-hmm. And that can't be downplayed. That can't be denied. It just is. Yeah. Classic.
JR?
Certified classic for me. I mean, at the end of the day, you have an album that had 7 singles. Yeah. 7. You know what I mean? Like 7 singles. And they all I know people don't really think about the original right here, but after that run is ridiculous. Like, you can't be denied. Like, after I'm So Into You on down, it was a wrap. And then the girls had, like Alise said, the remixes. This album literally lasted them for 4 years. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? While other girl groups already was on their second and going into that and all that. These girls were still riding on It's About Time and the remixes. Like, so
and,
it was, yeah.
Just to add on to what you said, not only with the Right Here, even though it wasn't the original Right Here, it still brought a lot of people in. It brought me in. It brought all my classmates in.
Right.
Like, we talked about that. So that was a big deal because that gave us the image. Like, no matter what the song did, it firmly planted their image and relatability into their music, which is half of what their impact was. So.
Right. So it got us ready for I'm So Into You, basically.
So JR, you know how I tell you, people, because we be talking about first single choices a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And you be like, why they pick that? I be like, yes, that single didn't blow up, but it put a certain image in people's minds. and it got people ready for that next one, to where that next one could blow up because of that first single. They might not have done as well, but it existed, and it was in there. It was out. So that's what I feel about right here. It got you ready for the rest of it. You needed that.
Agreed.
So my verdict, we talk about the lows on here, and that's something that is something that can sour someone's opinion on an album. And if you do that, then I think that would be an injustice to something that I think is such a great album. For me, it's a certified classic as well. I mean, we talked about the 7 singles. We talked about the chart success. I mean, look how many top 10 singles on the R&B charts we have just in those 7 singles. Between that and the remixes, I mean, it's ridiculous. Then, when you talk, really, the lasting thing to me, which makes this a classic, is legacy. It's legacy.
Yeah.
The impact on what this had on not just their contemporaries, but their successors and what they did, because the bar had been raised. It's like, okay, if they're doing this, then we need to do this. Like I said, when you got to TLC and Crazy Sexy Cool, they had to raise their game. I can't help that didn't have a little bit to do based on what it was that they were doing. Because they ate off that album for 3.5 years before they put their second album out.
Right.
So I need to compete with something with this. The same thing with Escape, putting out that first album and then putting out that second album, slightly a little bit I was influenced by what was on that album that came out right there. And to see that influence you have on your contemporaries and then also your successors, it's just like, this has to be a classic. And it is, because what is the reaction that you get from people when you hear these songs 30 years later?
Right.
And it could be 20 years from now and it'd be 50 years later. And what's the reaction that you get? The same exact thing, if not even more, I would say, brought on by time, that reminds you of a time when you were so young and when the music did something for you. That's classic material right there.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why it's a certified classic. That's why when now, years from now, we're going to sit back and listen to these songs, and when we hear them on the old stations, and whatever the listening medium is going to be at that point in time.
That part, B.
You know, whatever it's going to be. Who knows what it's going to be next. But when you hear it, it's going to be nothing but good times and memories. And then you think about as well where music went from after that, particularly R&B music. It definitely made its mark. And there's not many albums we can say that had as big an impact in regards to what both their contemporaries and the successors did. So, certified classic, without a shadow of a doubt. It's SWV. It's about time. 30 years coming up. Make sure that y'all go listen to it if you haven't. As you heard Brian Alexander Morgan himself, the man said he has some treats coming out right around Valentine's Day, some reimaginings, he said, of some of these classic songs. I just can't wait to hear it. I want to be at that listening party. As y'all said, if y'all hosting it, I'm definitely in the house.
Oh, B, you in the house. Oh, believe it.
I don't care if I got to wash dishes.
I said it out loud, so it's going to happen.
It's happening, B. So get ready. You will be getting a text.
I'll be.
Yeah.
Hey, listen.
Brian is a little bit scared of me, and so it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Good to know.
See, I can say it, and Brian be like, "Oh, okay," but when Alise comes in, I'm good.
Man, so listen, it was great having y'all on here. Again, NaturallyAlise and JR of the R&B Representers. I always want to give my guests a chance to go ahead and push their platforms while they're on here. So while we are here, please let the people know once again what your show is about, the show that you are on, where they can find you, not only your shows on the web, social media, but then also yourselves as well, in case people want to connect with you.
I'm going to let NaturallyAlise tell it.
So we are the R&B Representers, and we have a show called Catch That, where we talk to people about different eras, artists, albums of past and current, and we really dig deep into albums. Like we had B Cox on the show, and we went in. You said we talked for 2 hours, like 2.5, but and every minute will be put out. I don't do too much cutting in the editing process, but I want that organic feel. And but yeah, we do that show. We go in deep. We talk to people like actually in the industry. We talk to artists, producers, journalists. We talk to other podcasts. We talk to you. We talk to Spice Podcast, 90s, everything, Midnight R&B, everybody. So like we really get in deep. We care about the music. We're the only way we're gonna talk about anybody's politics and business is if it correlates to the music. If it don't, we don't care about that. We're about the music.
Yes.
You know, if it don't affect the music, we really don't care. So we just really go in. It's been really fun. We've made really great connections with people in the industry that respect what we're doing because we just want to talk about the music. We research, we take notes. Like we be in the video showing our papers. Like, no, I really wrote this down. Like that's just what we do. It's fun. It's a passion. It's something we love. And then the amazing show, which is me and JR's actually favorite show, is our Catch That Mini. And we talk to just music fans about a favorite song. It's one of their favorite songs. And we just go in about one song. There's something beautiful about just going into one song. So we learn about people. We learn new shit about songs that we never knew. Like it's just really dope. So we do that. We have a radio show. All this you can access at randbreps.com. Everything is just right there. You can go there, grab a t-shirt, listen to any of our shows, takes you to our YouTube, everything. And yeah, we love it, and that's what's important. Like we're about the love first. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, you like something I did,
JR? See. She couldn't just take it and say, "Oh, thanks." Right? Go ahead, B.
Have we met?
Oh yes.
Hey man, make sure y'all go check them out, man. They're have a great platform. They do a great show. The music they discuss, everything from Stevie Wonder to Marvin Gaye to D'Angelo to one of my favorites, Adriana Evans, who we talked about during the match.
Yeah.
So that's how far they dig deep into this, y'all. If you are a lover of the genre, go check out their platform and hit them up on social media too. They're very active on social media. JR, I feel like I don't know when you're not on social media or Twitter. You are on there like I guess your job, boy. Like
that's my job. Yeah.
He's our social media manager. Like if you see an R&B rep post, 95% of the time that is JR.
It's me. Yeah.
It ain't the kid. Now I will retweet it and I will send it to the right people. But however, that is not my ministry, as our girl Mika said, it's not my ministry. But but he's a beast at it. He keeps us out there, keeps us relevant, and I love him and respect him for doing that because I cannot.
And likewise with her. I can't edit videos. I can't do any of that. I suck with computers as it is. Before we got on here, I was at work and I was like, Alise, this laptop is pissing me off. Like, I can't. So when it comes to the editing and the things like that, that's her.
The bias.
Yes.
Plug ourselves. So I'm a graphic designer. So NaturallyAlise.com is my graphic design and speaking engagement things if you want to connect about some design or event photography. I also do that as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I'm just JR World of Soul. Y'all know I do the current R&B bangers. I have a new thing that I do, Flashback Fridays, where I talk about artists that a lot of people don't talk about. So the past 2 episodes I've done Eddie Kendricks. I did one on him. And my next one, I'm going to do one on Tyrone Davis. So I definitely want you guys to definitely check that out. A lot of people don't talk about these artists, and I feel like they had an impact in the industry. And I'm like, their music, a lot of people are sampling them and don't know it and all this. So I kind of talk about that. So just check me out at JR's World of Soul, but you can find everything on R&B Reps, and you can connect to all of us, really.
Can I say one more thing?
What now, girl?
I just want to tell JR he know who to send that Tyrone Davis video to.
Oh, yes. Okay, got you. I got you.
Okay, sorry. Inside joke. We'll tell you about it a little later.
Yes.
Hey, they are two of a kind, NaturallyAlise and JR of R&B Representers. Make sure y'all go check them out. Y'all, thank y'all so much for joining us for this SWV review. And this ain't it. Y'all not done with me. Y'all about to be back on here again. As I said, we have a massive next couple of years coming up, and I will be in touch. So y'all make sure y'all stay close. Don't go anywhere. Make yourself comfortable.
You better call me on that. I'll fight you. I'll fight you.
Oh, God.
No need to do that. No need to do that. Trust me, I'm a man of my word. So there you have it. Man, that was fun. SWVs, it's about time. Turning 30 years old. Big shout out to my sister Alise and to my brother JR of the R&B Representers. Again, reach them on rnbreps.com, their website. You can reach out to them on social media as well. Make sure you're checking them out on Catch That. Follow their YouTube channel. Make sure you're catching all the content they're putting out there. I'm telling y'all that my bro and sis put it down. And always, thanks to them, and also thanks to Mr. Brian Alexander Morgan, producing legend and extraordinaire songwriter as well, for coming on and spending a little bit of time with us to talk about the album and the production on the album and songwriting, and also letting us know what he's got up his sleeve, possibly for sometime next year to commemorate the album. So we're going to keep our eyes open for that and keep our ears open as well to see what he's got cooking up in the lab. So thanks to y'all for all of that. I can't wait to be able to have Alise and JR back on the show to talk about some more classic R&B coming up on The Vault. This was such a great time. It was such fun. Let's do it again sometime. And that is going to wrap up yet another edition of The Vault. Please make sure you are visiting us at vaultclassicpod.com. That's vaultclassicpod.com. There you can learn more about the show, check out our past episodes, join our mailing list, leave a review, or if so inclined, you can leave us a voice note. Click the blue microphone in the bottom right-hand corner to leave us a voice note to let us know what you think about the show, or to just show us some love. To support the show, click the coffee cup shaded in yellow in the bottom left-hand corner to access our Buy Me a Coffee page. On Buy Me a Coffee, you can give a small monetary donation to support the show to ensure that we can keep the vault open for many years to come. You can also visit us on social media at Vault Classic Pod on IG, Twitter, and on TikTok. Also hit us on YouTube and our Facebook page. Like and follow us on social media, subscribe to the pod and the YouTube channel. We do it here all for you. We appreciate the support, and if you have a friend, tell a friend, and make sure that that friend tells a friend. Always remember to keep your headphones on and your music loud, but not too loud. And as we close, we'd like to remind everyone to dream big, because dreams are the basis for creation. Always create, motivate, and elevate, because you were never destined or created to stay stationary or ordinary in this life. And on that note, we say peace.
Thank you for listening and coming into The Vault. Please subscribe and visit us at vaultclassicpod.com. That's vaultclassicpod.com.